e-commerce is bloody easy to do with end customers. People just love buying shit on the internet, right? I think competition is not the issue. There's 2 to 3 things you need to roll down to. You need to have a very good offer. If you're entering a competitive space, your offer needs to be something where people need to ask you twice. When you're speaking to someone and they say, wait, wait, is there an extra zero missing, or is there some, you need to be that aggressive. We were doing that long, long time ago before it was cool. We had a unique step in the sales space because we didn't enter a very crowded market. Now it's disgustingly crowded.
Today I'm speaking with Vaibhav. Vaibhav has been my personal friend, mentor, and inspiration for I think over a year now since he first started. Since I first heard about Smartwriter via Reddit, and that's what,
yeah.
yeah. That's how we met. Then I reached out, then we spoke, and he's just been there since that. So Vaibhav, I'll just let you introduce yourself. Can you just tell us about?
Thanks for having me, man. And I want to reflect the same thing. I think you're an absolute inspiration. What you're doing. If I only had half the brain you had at your age, I'd be very, very, very far. So just give it a few more years and you'll be crushing it. A quick backstory. Ran an agency, still running the agency. Grew it to a really large number. A lot of headaches growing people horizontally. Built a few products out of the agency because that was the goal. Sold one, which is in the AI forecasting business, and now we have 2 in the sales outbound space. We went into that space simply because we were doing the same thing. We automated while we were building the AI software and the analytics software. So yeah, the sales space has been good, very aggressive, very competitive, but a good place to be in.
Interesting. So you have 2 SaaSes in the sales space and the outreach and outbound space. And whenever someone comes to us with an idea that, hey, I want to build something in the sales space, I'm like, do not. No, the people you are trying to reach out to don't want to hear from you. The people who you are building, they are very, very finicky about the way they want things. They don't want a single variable change. It's a very difficult industry to be in. So like, how did you end up building one and then another one after it? What was like the journey like?
Great questions. I think with the first one, it was just a matter of I would definitely use the word luck. I don't use it often. The word luck was definitely there. When we were doing our original product, which was a forecasting analytics tool, our customers didn't exist on Facebook or Google. They were offline businesses. The only way we could reach out to them were cold emailing and outbound. So we pretty much ended up building an entire team of VAs, and we trained them on, hey, if they write this on that. So the personalized first lines before it was cool, we were doing that long time ago, right? So and at the same point, a lot of NLP engines and this was before GPT-3 actually. A lot of NLP engines actually started coming out, and we had a team. So we said, a bunch of engineers, we understand sales, we understand AI, so let's just build a basic version, which was parsing data from a big description, picking some keywords, and then combining that into some raw text. And that grew into something bigger, and then that's where Smartwriter sort of came in. So we had a unique step in the sales space because we didn't enter a very crowded market. Now it's disgustingly crowded. But I don't get to say it often, but Smartwriter was probably I don't know if it was the first, but it's definitely in the top 1 to 2 of the original tools in the space.
Can you tell us about Smartwriter? I mean, what does it do? Just as a beginning.
As a quick pitch, it just uses customer profile data, their social media data, to create personalized introductions. So you can then inject that data into your emails to sound unique, different, and increase your reply rates. That's the quick pitch. It's just, we take data, we make sense of it, we use that as an introductory message. And that's the goal of Smartwriter. And then Smartlead, to your point, I would not recommend anyone going into it unless you have leverage in the space. And what I mean by leverage is, we only went into Smartlead simply because we had Smartwriter. I would not have started Smartlead just as a core product. You couldn't. There's thousands of cold emailing tools in the market, thousands, right? You can be the cheapest, you can be the fastest, you can be the quickest, but just distribution is very, very hard. Obviously, there are people picking up on this model now, but I'll counter what I say with this. I think competition is not the issue. There's 2 to 3 things you need to roll down to. You need to have a very good offer. If you're entering a competitive space, your offer needs to be something where people need to ask you twice. With it, when you're speaking to someone and they say, wait, wait, is there an extra zero missing, or is there some, you need to be that aggressive. 10x faster, 10x better, 10x cheaper, the P2Theo thing, right? And the second thing, you need to have a very strong distribution engine. So we had Smartwriter. We had 16,000 businesses on the platform. We simply just had to drive some traffic across. So our getting a first few customers was not bad or really hard. But after that, scaling obviously has its thing. But when you're selling a cold emailing software, you just use the software to push your own software. So your CAC is almost zero.
Interesting. Yeah. And you have, how long have you been in the cold emailing space? I mean, when did you first send your first batch of emails? Like,
probably
hey, now I'm doing
2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And in that time,
6 years.
how has the space changed in 2 year chunks, basically, from
when I started, there was no, I only think Gmass was the only one that was doing cold emailing, or at least when I would Google it, like this was before I even knew cold emailing was a thing. I was actually manually sending. So my first stint of cold emailing was this was trying to grow my agency. I created a free course on Udemy. It was like a 45-minute course, and I wanted to send it out to CTOs of companies, telling them, hey, it's a 1 hour course, check it out. Maybe it'll help you become technical again. And I remember manually pasting it, sending it, pasting it, sending it, and then being very sad because no one opened my email or no one replied to my email. I sent 10 emails and I got really depressed. But I obviously realized with cold email, it has to be thousands of emails. But so that was my first thing. So almost 7 years now, 2023. So that was when I sent my first batch. I don't think Lemlist existed. I don't think Reply exists. None of the Mailshake wasn't there as well. It was just Gmass, I think so. So that's when I sent out my first batch. I don't say I'm a cold emailer. I'm not. I don't think I want to put myself as a.
It's ironic coming from you.
Yeah, I'm not a guru or any of that stuff. Like it's part of any sales cycle, right? Like in the end, I'm a founder just like yourself, and one of the many strategies that we used is cold outreach, and we use that more than we use other strategies. So inevitably, we end up using a lot of email marketing, but I won't call myself an expert per se. But yes, I know an uncomfortable amount of information about emails more than a normal person should. So yeah.
And how is the space right now? So in the beginning there were no tools, and in the past 2 years there has been an explosion, I'll say.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you feel about the space right now?
It's very crowded, and when it's crowded, it effectively means there's more noise. When there's more noise, it means it's harder for you to stand out. So, which is kind of why, without continuously pitching what we do, look, ads stopped working since iOS 15. Not stopped, but they got more expensive, right? And if you're in the B2B space or in the services space, you need to know how to go ahead and do predictive outbound. I think outbound is fundamental. I actually discounted it a lot. Knowing how to do ads, which are basically inbound, are important and it's great. But knowing how to do outbound, I feel like gives you a more predictable process. Knowing that, okay, if I do this, I get this and I get this. And I'm not depending on some stupid algorithm. I'm not depending upon like running some crazy CBO campaign, A/B test. No gimmicks there, right? It's just I get a bunch of emails, send a bunch of messages. And if my message is good enough, my copy is good enough, I will get someone to say, yes, I'm interested, right? Classic DTC, like direct to consumer copywriting, right? So it's very, very crowded. In my opinion, is a good thing. You see, when it's crowded and a lot of people are doing the same thing, it's very easy to stand out. So I think it's the best time to get into this space, especially since people have dialed down on Facebook, and we've given up. I know a lot of people give up. Google is doing its thing. And unfortunately, at least yet, we don't have a large B2B audience on TikTok. Yet. We will soon, but not yet, right? So sure, your content can go viral and you can use that across, but you're not going to drive a lot of traffic. And obviously there's LinkedIn. And there's heaps of LinkedIn automation tools. So I still think LinkedIn is a fantastic place to drive business growth, but that's just not through cold emails. You need to write content, build an authority base, and then go ahead and do that. So long answer short, it's very crowded, but crowded doesn't mean bad. Crowded means actually good, because when everyone else is sending walls and disgusting cold emails, you can actually stand out and be different. And when someone's being lazy and just doing cold emails, you can combine that with cold emails, ads, a great landing page, blogs, and everything else. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And you were running an agency before, right? You were running a web development, software
yep,
development agency before, and then
yep,
you started a software company, like a SaaS
yep,
company.
yep.
So what was that journey like? I mean, what was it that what was the competitive edge there when you were jumping into the SaaS space? How did it?
When you build other people's products, you get to see the mistakes they make. More than the building part, you realize the building part is the smallest part of it all. The main part is actually getting, 10 people. So, we quickly moved from, and it's constant iteration with the early engineering. So the current team I have is fantastic, but early days you'd be like, okay, we need to take care of security. I'm like, no one cares about security. You wish you were big enough to get hacked, right?
Yeah.
You wish you were important enough to people who actually give a shit about you. So I
Yes.
think that's one of the main things is a lot of prioritization of what matters. And in the end, the competitive edge is simply seeing the successful founders that we worked with and the unsuccessful founders we worked with. The successful founders were simple. They basically built everything on an outcome based approach, right? Will this feature make me money? Will this feature make my customers money? Will this feature save my customers money? Will this feature bring me more customers? Just pocket it down to those main 4 or 5 whatever factors, and then build those things. I think it was the Mixmax guys, Mix Panel guys. No, Mix Panel guys. They were doing I was watching this video and they said we were building so quickly that we didn't have a forget password feature for I think 6 months until we were live. And that's a good thing. It shows that people are using their product, and the basic things that you spend a day or two, just focus on just building something that's valuable, right? And the other shit you can do later. So yeah, I think that was the main thing. The biggest part of just seeing what other people did wrong and realizing the majority of what people did wrong was focusing on the design, focusing on the product, focusing on everything, and not focusing at all on the growth aspect.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
yeah.
that experience has been consistent in our work as well. I mean, we work with founders and we are like, bro, just don't ask us which branches we are using. It doesn't matter. No, it does
Yeah.
not matter. It's
Yeah.
like it works. We don't have, do we have unit tests? No, we do not have unit tests. What do you mean? Why
Yeah.
would we have unit tests?
And I think that's the other
Yeah.
thing, right? Is time and place. As speaking, especially as the dev agency. So
Yes.
unit tests have a place. 100% they have a place. They have a very, very important place, but they don't have a place to be justified when you have no customers.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So
Yes.
if you come to me with a product with a customer base, unit tests are going to be core focus because stability is important. But if you come to with no newsletter, no email subscriber list, no nothing, just I've got 100K and I've got a bunch of features I want to build, you need to get to market as soon as you can. That's what your focus is. And unit tests are not going to get you to market.
Absolutely. So, in your agency, you might have had a chance to see how founders get their first 100,000 users, right? And then when you started with Smartwriter, and not Smartwriter. So, what was the strategy like? What did you have in your head? What was your high level marketing plan like? This is what I
Sure.
would. Yeah.
Fantastic question. In that I've broken it down to 3 layers, right? The 3 layers are there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's a friend of mine's suggestion. So I'm just paraphrasing it. Tier 1 is basically the highest form that consistently compounds. Tier 2 works well, and tier 3 is short form bursts, right? So most founders need to start from tier 3 and they stick to tier 3. They never go beyond tier 3 to tier 2 or tier 1. And that's why it's a constant cycle. Tier 3 gives you the best results, but it's not sustained. So the reason I'm saying this is a lot of founders brought in their initial customers to basically ads, right? So Google is fantastic, more than Facebook, in my opinion, because Google drives an intent. So people are searching for something, and search is a lot more powerful than cold ads, simply because the customer is already in tuned, right? So you know that pyramid that exists, right, is problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware, then decision making. Majority of the people are problem unaware. We're not looking to attack those people when we're trying to get our first customers. We're trying to get to the people who are problem aware and people who might be solution aware and trying to make that decision, right? So Google, I think, it's very underplayed by a lot of people because they focus on Facebook ads because of drop shipping, but Google is very, very good. So that's one I've seen. Second is outbound. surprisingly so, right? Adban has worked back in the day when Elon and PayPal mafia would go ahead and create companies. It still works right now. So that's that. Now, when I said tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, cold emails fall under tier 3, which is if you put input, you get output. Like but the thing is, I'd say it sticks between tier 3 and tier 2 because you can automate it really, really well, like have a system. So ads, Facebook ads and cold emails fall under tier 3. Tier 2 would fall something under communities, something that's a bit more defensible, starts building your moat around yourself, right? Communities, help guides, blog articles, etc. And then tier 1, by all forms and means and manner, content and SEO. That is how you would build a sustainable business. At this point, I can safely say 99.99% of all our growth for Smartwriter is traffic, SEO. I've only sent maybe initially I sent a fair few cold emails, but in the past year, maybe 10, 15 for Smartwriter. Smartlead, we do significant more volume, but for Smartwriter, 10, 15. All of it's been SEO.
Interesting. So, quick question: do people come looking for Smartwriter, or they come looking for AI personalization?
No. So there's that's the whole SEO piece. As the problem aware, you need to figure out what exactly they're searching for, and then you drive them through a funnel, right? And then eventually you convert them across. So some people are just looking for how to write a follow-up message, nothing to do with Smartwriter, right? And I like how Ahrefs. I think they're the pinnacle of SEO content. They never sell Ahrefs. That's the best part. So I think I forgot the CMO's name. He's actually on point. If you look at their content, they never once say, like, there's a CTA to try Ahrefs. All they do is they solve your problem using Ahrefs. That's it. And it's just innately human, right? It's similar to how you would have seen this when you went to university, if other people went to uni. Even though there are cheaper books and textbooks that you can buy that teach you the same thing, you end up going with the textbook that your lecturer recommends simply because there's a bias that there's something extra in that book that will help me achieve that particular outcome. So Ahrefs is the same example. They solve your problem about how to rank on Google, how to get backlinks, but the entire blog is literally just a help guide. It's just a help guide, right? It's just telling you how to do what you want to get. And all they do is they show you how to do it using Ahrefs. So that's it.
So now I have like a weird question, and it might be like no one ever gives a very specific answer to this, and there is probably a reason they don't give it, but I'll still ask it. And the question is, if you had to build a B2B SaaS, and let's call it a $99 price point, you want to get to your first 100 users, and you want to figure out the technical aspects of it and the marketing aspects of it, and you had to come up with like a high level budget to build something in, let's say, 4 months. It's a high level budget for it. So my first question is like, so you have built a ton of products already. So you have built, I think, 6 or 8 products so far, right? And how do you come up with those numbers? So there is, of course, a split. You spend 40% in tech, 60% in marketing. But how do you actually go about creating a budget? Is it 50K? Is it 100K? How do you split all those chunks up? What does that look like as a founder?
It's very different doing it for clients, right? I think for clients, we've done 60, 70 products right now, and they usually come to us with funding. So it's a very different conversation. But if I were to do it myself, which is perhaps a question, we don't do it on budget. We use it on time. I think time is the most precious thing, right? So we say, what can we get done in 4 weeks? Practically speaking, maybe 6 weeks tops. And we put in the respective engineering resources. I can't say 5K, 10K, 50K because I actually haven't counted. But like, if you want to know an aspect of the percentage of marketing to engineering, initially it was 80% engineering, 20% marketing. But I'd say now it's a good 50-50, right? Like, so it's a good 50-50. Getting the designs done, getting the landing pages in, getting the copywriting sorted out, getting some ads in place and all that stuff. I'd say 50-50. Engineering, see, here's the thing, without rambling on, I want to debunk this whole thing where great marketing beats a great product. It does. But in the short term, in the long term, a great marketing and a great product beat either a great marketing alone or a great product alone. Simple, right? But if you were to put a gun to my head and say, which one would I want? I would definitely say great marketing, not great product. But that's it. So to sort of sum up your question, there is no budget that I can throw in your head. We've built a fair few, right? The most important thing is not the budget. The most important thing is the time to market. Is how long can we release? Not an MVP as they call it. There's different words. It's what's it called? It's MLP. Yeah,
I
minimal
learned it from you.
lovable
I've
product.
said it
Yeah,
6 times to people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. Minimum level product. And for those listening, the difference is simple. An MVP is traditionally just something that's just glued together that gets somewhat of a job done. An MLP is something that does one thing and one thing extremely well. And then you can add the other things on top of it. So I'll give you our co-limiting software. Initially, our job was one and one thing alone. We send a lot of emails and let you add an unlimited set of email accounts. Once that was sorted, then all the extra sauce and the fanciness and all that came in. But you need to solve the core product first. So yeah.
That's right. And what were some of the biggest technical challenges or were there any technical challenges in, let's say, Smartwriter or Smartlead? Smartwriter more so than Smartlead, I would imagine.
No, you'd be at this. Initially, Smartwriter was more complex, but at the scale Smartlead is at right now, Smartlead's more complex. So Smartwriter is more complex because we were a data scraping software more than an AI creation software. Like the writing part is the easy part. That's what people get confused saying, oh, wow, you've written this cool content. But that's easy. Finding that information was disgustingly difficult. So we had a very complex system where we would spin up mini microservices that would latch onto dynamic residential IP addresses to then go scrape Google to find information, plus the LinkedIn bypassing and all that other drama. And then on top of that, keeping track of the fact that LinkedIn always changes its bloody selectors every 2 days.
I know. Facebook does too.
Oh, it's painful. We've come up with solutions to fix for that, obviously, now, but the initial days it would be very, very difficult. And then combine that with consistent rate limits, as well as ensuring that you're not flagged by the ends of softwares that you're trying to, work through. So architecturally, Smartwriter is very, very difficult in terms of just all the magicness that happens, plus the LinkedIn piece with limits, especially. Like we have this whole cookie management where we dance through certain limits of cookies, and to ensure that we do this and that, we auto rotate, then we need to maintain a static IP. Oh, it was.
You're still doing it? Are you still doing the
Yeah,
cookies thing? Oh.
We definitely are. It's timeless code, so I'll give the engineering team credit for that. It works well.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, right, I was like, Wipro probably hates this from a product's perspective.
I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, but I thought it would get removed, but I think that is the best way to handle it for now.
It's just there right now because, again, for candid speaking for people, when we launched Smartwriter, we launched on AppSumo Ltd. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, to be honest. It's great to get that bit of boost, but it brings in a lot of 90% of the customers in AppSumo are nice people. They have that 10% that absolutely make you regret ever going down that path. So we still keep it mainly for them, but majority, if not all of our new customers, just go with the other approach we have, which is a non-cookie approach, which is basically put in the profile and we scrape LinkedIn for you. So
yes, absolutely. And even with that, the non-cookie approach, it's pretty complex because you have to persist everything properly for all these users.
Yes.
It's very expensive. That's why Expand is so expensive.
Yes, exactly. So, and we actually extract and store a bit of those like some segments so that we don't have to refetch it.
But it's a complex problem. I mean, it's an incredibly complex problem. And tackling, you had a lot of code products under your belt, so like you were able to tackle it. But if you had to do it all over again, the LinkedIn automation.
Oh no, it's a tough. It's LinkedIn automation is very difficult. It's very difficult. We were coming up with that right now for Smartlead. So so we're doing omni-channel, so it's not fun.
Yes, absolutely. I was just like, that's nice. I mean, if Vaibhav is building LinkedIn automation, then sometime down the road, we can, if we had someone who wanted LinkedIn automation, I would just recommend white labeling your automation, and you haven't done all the headache for it.
That's it's a painful part as well. But Look, let's see. We're in that experiment right now. We've got another 3 weeks to release it. We'll see how it goes. It'll be in beta for a long time.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Interesting question about Smartlead's tech side. Have you
Yeah.
guys reached limits of what Postgres can support, what Redis can support? And it's like now Redis won't even work properly, and now GraphQL won't even work properly. Are you
Yeah,
guys?
we've reached GraphQL not working properly a few times, and we've reached Postgres. That's why I really love Smartlead, because that's we're building that at a scale that we've previously not built a lot of. We've built one or two products at that scale before for clients, but not for ourselves. But with Smartlead, we're managing millions of records at this time, and we're pumping north of a couple of million. No, I think our warm-ups itself is a fraction above a few million emails a day. So I think maybe a 1.6 or something like 1.8 warm-up emails a day that are just going through our system consistently. Maybe more now because we made some changes, and that's growing every day. And then the cold emails itself, I don't know, but when you're doing that much pumping, you need to have an infrastructure that's infinitely scalable, right? And then it's not about the actual microservices, it's about data querying and creating the right functionalities, the right SQL queries, and how sensitive you get with the querying right now. And I think our backend engineer will, lead and backend, he will tell you the amount of pain we go through when our servers just suddenly. We had someone upload 72 million records the
What?
other day in one
What?
shot. Yeah, it's 1/3 of bloody LinkedIn. But it was a mistake, but it was a good lesson to learn as to what, uh what to do and not do.
Interesting. Follow-up question on the technical side of things. So when building the MVP, we have these challenges where we are like, do it this way, it will be cheaper, it will not be scalable, and do it the other way where it will be scalable but more expensive. And the simplification of that is use serverless, and then it will be more complex. It will be more complex to build. The hiring will be more expensive, and everything gets more expensive, and use simple servers and it will not be scalable. So when you were building Smartlead and Smartwriter, did you have a point where you knew that Smartlead was going to be like blew up? So
no. We did not know for Smartwriter.
Hmm.
If you look at Smartwriter's code, it's a lot of legacy code, and it's code that could be improved because we did not know it was going to do well as a business, right? With Smartlead, we knew going into that it's going to do well because we had the customer base. So the role given to my team from the very beginning, we said, guys, we need to build this for scale. From the day dot, it needs to be built for scale. So our entire infrastructure right now, sorry to hurt people out there, but it is microservice a bit. And it runs on lambdas and dynamic IPs and static IPs and all that stuff. So we make good use of ECS. So we don't do EBS, or we don't have like EC2 services. Everything's on ECS. Multiple ECS cluster protocols for different services, and then lambdas for services to then retrigger something.
Yeah, that is incredibly complex, and not just from a technical standpoint, but also from a hiring and a management standpoint, right? Whenever you are,
I don't know half the shit that happens in our software. Like, I
yeah.
don't think our own engineering team knows half the shit that happens in our software, because like it's such a vast product right now in terms of all the things. Because we don't only do that, but we also use Hasura and GraphQL. So we have a lot of hooks, like basically PGL listeners, GraphQL listeners, Postgres listeners as well. So some of the hooks that we have are not reactive on a code level, but they're reactive on a database level.
Okay.
So because we have reactive conditions running on the database level, which are more performant, hence why we do it on a database level, then it's just a nightmare maintaining that, right? Because we then need to go ahead and have a catalog to go ahead and see, all right, which function is actually triggering this? Is it database side? Is it the Lambda side? Is it the ECS side? Is it some bloody webhook we're calling from somewhere else? Is this GraphQL's custom function? So it's a complex product. But I think there's no other way around it, simply because of A, the scale, and B, the IP issues that we need to fix all the time.
Yes. No, that makes sense. Next question. What would be your piece of advice for SaaS founders who are looking to fund their startups? And I'm asking that question because you have done it both. You have worked with people who have raised funding, and you have bootstrap products yourself as well. You haven't raised funding for your own products, right? Never.
No, we only just
Yeah.
help people with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you decide which is what and what types of ideas are better to get funding for? What ideas are better to bootstrap?
I'll summarize it very quickly. Funding is fuel, not oxygen. That's all. Any business can use funding. Our products can use funding as well. We get reached out by VCs all the damn time, right? I just don't want it and I don't need it. That's a different story. Because we got the oxygen and the fuel comes through the agency, right? But if I didn't have the agency, yeah, I would definitely consider funding. But in short, what type of businesses? Anything B2C, funding. You can't bootstrap B2C. I'm sorry, I might be wrong. Ignore my ignorance, but I just find it very difficult to go ahead and justify charging an end user, $29.99 for a product when you're paying $9.99 for Netflix that spends billions of dollars every year, right? But the same thing, you can charge your customers in the B2B space $799 a ticket because you can quantify that you can get your customers at least $15,000, right? Or whatever that number. Even if you get it just 2-3x, the point is simple. You pay me 1x, I return you 3x. The maths is dumb and simple. So, and with the business, it's a very revenue focused, output. So it's very easy. So, I've built projects for clients that are in the B2C space, and they just burn money. They just burn money just because that's just how B2C works. It's aggressive. The marketing is very difficult. And second, you have all these consumer policy rights that you need to be careful of when you're doing advertising. That makes it difficult for you to just send cold emailing. You can't do cold emailing, right? This is different from DTC, by the way. I'm talking purely SaaS. I'm not talking e-commerce. E-commerce is bloody easy to do with end customers. People just love buying shit on the internet, right? But people don't like seeing their account be drained of $9 every month consistently, right? That's e-commerce works well because one-time purchase, then again two-time purchase, but it's single purchases, right? It's not subscription focused. But SaaS, the gift and the curse is the gift is recurring revenue.
Yes, absolutely.
But the curse is then justifying to your end customer, I'm going to take X amount of money out of your salary every month consistently as long as you use us. It's not one time, it's consistent. Yeah.
It's like it's very interesting. When I was an employee at a company, I used to look at subscriptions like this. I was like, I make $10. I buy this for $1. I'm now going to make $99 into perpetuity. That is how the subscriptions work. As a business, I'm like, hey, I just blew up $10 on something. It's fine, whatever. We'll bill our clients more. It's like that. Yeah, that's the difference.
Pretty much. It's the five pillars or 7 pillars. I think make people money, save people time, improve confidence, improve convenience, improve social status. If you can do any of these 6 things, you're good to go. And most of them are in the B2B space.
So what's the 5-year plan for Vaibhav and for his SaaSes, 2 SaaSes?
Oh man, I don't know what my plan is next month, 1 year, 5 years is very far away.
When's the yacht coming?
No yacht yet, but no, the goal is we'll definitely try venture into more products eventually, try scale our bootstrap as much as we can and just build a SaaS engine. And then eventually I think I really love I think it's Andrew Wilkinson from Tiny VC, the guy who basically had I forgot what he's the ultimate, right? He built an agency. Through that agency, he bought a bunch of SaaS apps. He didn't build it. I think he bought a lot of SaaS apps. And then he now just owns a bunch of SaaS businesses that generate crazy amount of revenue, right? And that's just his entire business. And he just uses the agency revenue, buy SaaS businesses, and then cycles it up. And now he's just got a portfolio of companies, and just he hires the CTO, CEO for each of these companies, lets them run by themselves, lets them grow for a few years, flips them, sells them, and then makes more capital. Like that is the dream. So we're not there yet, but the goal is to hopefully eventually work to that vision. Yeah.
Do you just go on MicroAcquire and be like, interesting, I might add that to the cart? Do you ever do that?
So I haven't yet, but I definitely want to start doing that. I strongly believe one of the biggest mistakes I've made is starting something from scratch. A rolling stone has significant more value than a still stone, right? So because even if the rolling stone is small, it can gather enough dirt to become big, that typical, that image that you see. But if you're trying to move a big stone that's not moving, it's going to take your life to just get it to move a bit, right? So with that being said, I would encourage, if you have the capital, to buy a business, not start a business. Always, if you have the capital.
Makes sense. Last question. How do you manage your, I don't want to say manage your time and sound like a self-help podcast, but in your case, it's like, it is a lot of moving bits. It's like a lot of moving bits. You have the agency, which has its own moving bits in the SaaS. So how do you manage your priorities and time?
I'm pretty bad at it. Like, I'll be honest with you. Riddle that with ADHD, and it really doesn't help. Like, you're not getting anything done sometimes. And I have some pretty bad days and some good days. I have learned to let go of things. I've learned to be okay with 90% instead of 100%. And that is a tough thing to do. And now that 90% is not even the case, like, my team is much better than me at the stuff they do, right? I'm not, I think I'm a good coder, but I definitely think that they just spend more time doing that than I do, right? So, and they're really smart people. So, yeah, I think it's just time management is just respecting the fact that you need to let go of certain things and not do it yourself. Just let them handle it. It might be slower, it might take longer, it might not be the exact that you want, but that is how it's meant to be. So it's just delegation is the easiest way to sort of put it.
Yeah, and the last question is, what's the one bit of advice, or what's the one thing you would do differently if you were starting over the entire journey?
So if do I know the stuff that I know right now?
Sure. No,
Okay.
I don't know. Then you just buy like some stocks and like
no, but I don't have the cap. No. Ignore that part. Obviously. Just business knowledge, right? Is what you're referring to.
Yeah, sure. Knowing what you know now.
Okay, but I don't have the capital.
Yeah, you're out of college.
Okay, you're out of college, basically.
You
so
know
basically,
you're like
I know everything I need to know, but I just don't have the money for it.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Great. I'd open my calendar. I'd promise myself, and which is actually promise every day, to upload a video on YouTube. Right. For the first 3 years out of college, or 2 years out of college, I would build a moat. A moat being YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. YouTube was obviously the holy grail. But that's what I would do. I'm not even going to talk about business. I'm not going to talk about apps to build. I would build an audience. I would build an audience, because when you build an audience, right? Like, I think Adam Wathan really wrote about, just spoke about that just a few days ago. He speaks about like the recoiling spring, where the more you give, like your content piece, you're recoiling your spring more and more. The second you ask, that spring will just explode. So they were talking about Refactor UI, which is one of those things, and they're like, yeah, we gave so much. When we launched Refactor UI, the first one was $1 million, right? So I generally think that I think if I came out of uni right now, I would get a job, just focus on doing the job, ignore this hyped up entrepreneur bullshit that people throw. I just get a job that's a well-paying job, right? That pays me well, that lets me do my 9 to 5, right? And then focus very, very aggressively on content and just build my moat. Whatever it is, I want to speak about my thing that I do at my job. Maybe it's marketing, or it's Google ads, whether it's cold marketing, whatever it is, I do that. 2-3 years, I'm just throwing a random number. Once I built an audience big enough to pay my salary, quit my job immediately, go all in on YouTube or content or whatever it is, and then eventually sell courses, right? Sell SaaS products, which is what I would do right now. But I'd say the future is ripe for education. Ignore the Baiju's and all those scams. It's more so, it is about building systems that will help you acquire customers quickly. And I think education is a fantastic place because it builds on trust. So
yes,
I would go into the education space. That's what I did. That's so long story short. I don't think we ever spoke about how I did my agency. I got into the agency because I was actually doing Udemy courses. So I launched a Udemy course in 2016, a React course when React was brand new, right? And I got 17, 18, some 30,000 students or something like that. And as a result of that, people reach out saying, hey, do you do consulting? And that's how. I got into the agency space, and I had my audience already. I
Oh,
never had to do outreach.
That's much better. That's
so hence why I would always recommend anyone to build an audience of any sort. Udemy, TikTok, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to do, build an audience first. If you have that luxury of time, which is age, at 21, 22, you have heaps of time. I would do that.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that concludes it. On that note, thank you so much, Vaibhav. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, absolutely.